Don't skip this. And is it ever easy to skip? Stretching is one of those activities that seems inconsequential when compared to actually lifting weights or playing sports. Even though we see folks stretching all the time, before a race, at the gym, or even NFL players literally for an hour before their game. But for us, with busy schedules and limited time for a workout, we put stretching on the back burner or simply say to ourselves, we'll do it later or tomorrow. Don't do that. This video will show that not only should we not skip stretching in our long-term fitness journey, but that it actually helps build strength and muscle size while adding a whole host of other peripheral benefits. In short, just like nutrition and rest, stretching is another key component in the complete development of our physiques. Now, let's get into it. First, we know stretching is important for preparing for a workout or activity. Well, at least we think we do because we see it all the time. The assumption is a good stretch will prevent injury and help us to perform at our peak. What is interesting here is the results of some recent studies that explain exactly what is happening when we stretch and how this is directly contributing to the enhancement of our bodies and our mind. Range of motion is one of the more obvious benefits, and what is great news is that muscle strength and muscle growth can be added to the range of motion. While there are a number of good stretches such as ballistic stretching and dynamic stretching, we are going to focus on the static stretch. For comparison, a ballistic stretch is one that involves movements such as arm circles or leg swings. Dynamic stretching is more of a pulse movement where you increase the stretch on every pulse. For example, a light bounce on a hamstring stretch when you stretch more with each pulse. But a static stretch is when you stretch the muscle to the point of stopping and hold it there for about 30 seconds. This is where the research was done that suggests improved muscle fitness and growth along with these stretches. During the static stretch, the protective tissue surrounding the muscles as well as the tendons stretch under the stress, engaging the collagen and elastic fibers. Unlike a rubber band, our muscles do not have to return immediately to their starting point. Instead, we can train the fibers to adjust to a new normal starting position of longer length. With longer range of motion, we can take advantage of the increased length to improve the effectiveness of our workouts or even improve our performance when playing sports or other activities. For instance, the stretching of our legs will help us reach an ideal range of motion in a squat, or particularly when we are doing walking lunges that will challenge our hamstrings, hips, and glutes. Proper stretching beforehand will enable us to get the most out of the workout. And similarly with sports, the proper static stretch will help you perform, be that with jumping, running, or otherwise. But what is so encouraging is that along with the range of motion, researchers have shown that muscle strength and muscle growth is achieved in this elongated muscle state. On its surface, strength and elongation seem to be at odds with each other. We know, for example, that physics and gravity tend to make things that are elongated weaker rather than stronger. So in order for us to compensate in length, we need to design it in. Think of an I-beam used for the construction of skyscraper buildings. Similarly, when we do lateral side shoulder raises, the fact that our arms are extended make that exercise exponentially harder. So the idea that an elongated muscle has the capacity to grow in that state is exceptional. We think that there would be no room for growth in that state, but it turns out our bodies will adapt such that we can get the benefit of all worlds. Increased range of motion with increased muscle strength and growth. Wins all around. At the cellular level, a static stretch is doing similar good damage to our muscles such that our repair process kicks in to develop those muscles to better withstand that particular stretch. Clearly, we are not damaging the muscle by stretching beyond our limits. Rather, in the ideal stretch, the impact on the muscles is very similar, but to a much lesser extent, to that done during a weightlifting exercise to failure. But the same research showed that static stretching is temporary. Our muscles will in fact go back to its starting position after about 10 minutes. The biggest solution to this is activity immediately following the stretch and stretching consistently over the course of weeks and months. So if we are looking for permanent flexibility and muscle strength, our goal is long-term consistency. But who has the time for that? As we mentioned, we only have a limited amount of time for workouts, and stretching just does not come high enough on that priority list. The good news is we only need a couple of minutes to reap the benefits of a static stretch. And given that we are always limited for time, the best approach is to get our stretches in right before and after our workout. And we only need a couple of minutes. 10 minutes is all we need for warm-up, stretch, and post-workout stretch. A 5-minute warm-up to get our blood flowing, 3-minute static stretch focused on the areas that we're going to be working out, followed by a cool down and stretch for 2 minutes. Done. All right, so what exactly should we do and how do we do it? The research showed that we want to do a static stretch to about 40% of our limit. Anything above that would be increasing our injury risk, and anything below that would be ineffective. Only you will be able to find that 40%, depending on your level of flexibility. A general rule is that you should be uncomfortable, but not pull too hard on your connective tissue. You shouldn't be in pain, just a bit uncomfortable. One trick here to help push through is exhaling, a deep breath followed by a long exhale. You will notice that when you exhale deliberately, your muscles go into a natural relaxed state. So if you're in a static stretch, you tend to get a little more range of motion during the exhale. Try it. It works every time. And try to hold the position for 10 to 30 seconds or so. For the post-workout stretch, we want to be a bit more mindful. There is a possibility of limiting the gains of weight training with too much stretching. After the workout, the idea is to help the circulatory system move the nutrients to the muscle fibers and connective tissue to help in its repair and recovery. Obviously, rest is key, but we are looking to kickstart the recovery process for max strength and growth. So we see that a short amount of static stretching improves range of motion and muscle growth and strength. Additional health benefits are quite significant as well. We are improving our general health by incorporating a consistent stretching program. Studies show that between the ages of 20 and 50, we tend to lose about 10% of our flexibility every decade. Our bodies naturally become less flexible. We have the ability to counteract that, and we also improve balance and stability through stretching, particularly so if you incorporate stretching into a yoga routine. There are great yoga practices that benefit muscle development, and stretching improves posture and basic mobility. But one very, very significant benefit to stretching is rehab. Not only is the stretch helping with reducing pain and inflammation, but is a very effective technique when you are limited in movement. This makes a lot of sense. If we were, for example, to get a foot injury that prevented us from doing squats or sports, the static stretch can be utilized to limit the atrophy of those muscles. We know that the muscle can and will develop similarly to weight training. And with rehab, the development can be in such a manner that you will keep as much muscle and gains as possible as your body heals from the injury. It may seem like the last thing you want to do while recovering, but we see physical therapists utilizing this method quite often today. As always, be careful not to aggravate any muscle or the injury itself. As with all exercise, keep it simple and to the basics. If you target 30 minutes for a workout, get as much done in that time as possible. So go for what works best. On leg day, for example, do the standing quad stretch. Hold on to the wall or a chair for balance, grab your ankle and pull it to your glutes. Hold and repeat with the other leg. For the hamstring, keep it very basic with the forward bend. Give yourself the leeway to narrow or widen your feet as you feel. Go only to the point where you feel the tension is about 40% of max and hold it. No bouncing, no dipping. Just hold and deliberately exhale. You can even count for a little bit of a meditation or yoga vibe. For your chest, simply raise your arms to the ceiling and pull them wide to where your elbows are level with your chest and hold. Shoulders, clasp your hands in front of you and round your back. And then clasp your hands behind you and push your chest out as you try to straighten your arms. Keep it simple, keep it short, but do this consistently in every workout along with your long-term fitness regimen. Now check out this video on the importance of cold therapy, and we will see you next time.